Rolovich was denied in his attempt to obtain a religious exemption.
I was fired by the PGA Tour. I was in need of religious exemptions.
God speaks to me clearly, and he gave me a lot of peace about my decision.
Religious exemptions for vaccine mandates are not very hard to get, but getting them approved might be difficult. It could depend on what your job is and where you do it. According to the Washington Post, thousands of federal workers have applied for religious exemptions. In Kansas, the governor says she'll sign a measure that forces employers to grant religious exemptions with no questions asked. And in Oklahoma, Republican Senate candidate Pastor Jackson Lahmeyer has a religious exemption form on his website. All of this pitting faith leaders between the government and private employers. Let me explain. In the middle, there are faith leaders like My City Church pastor Kelly Nelson.
In these vaccines, they're in their research or in their development, at some point in the journey, they used aborted fetal stem cells. And so that has been the main sought religious exemption.
Infectious disease expert Dr. James Lawler says, decades ago, scientists decided to use fetal tissue to start the cell lines we use to test drugs today. However, Dr. Lawler, who is a practicing Catholic, says current fetal cell lines are thousands of generations removed from the original fetal tissue. They do not contain any tissue from a fetus. He's quick to point out that the Vatican and bishops are in favor of the vaccine. Pope Francis tells parishioners in this PSA, getting a vaccine is an act of love. According to research from Vanderbilt University Medical Center, the vast majority of Christian denominations don't oppose vaccines. The same is true for religious Jews.
And even in the most orthodox side of Judaism, the most traditionalist side, there's been no issue whatsoever with taking vaccines.
This rationale helped New York Governor Kathy Hochul do away with religious exemptions for healthcare workers in her state.
There are not legitimate religious exemptions because the leaders of all the organized religions have said there's no legitimate reason.
Hochul's mandate may cost this New York nurse her job.
Being a Christian, one of the things that we do is we seek God in our decisions, and I just felt like he was leading me to wait.
Is this something New York State can legally do? While Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 makes it unlawful to discriminate based on someone's religion, it also gives employers the right to deny exemptions as well. Employment law attorney Emily Smith-Lee explains.
If you are a frontline healthcare provider and you're requiring all of your employees to be vaccinated, you may be able to argue that it places an undue burden on your business to exempt somebody from that requirement because you're patient-facing frontline healthcare and need your employees to be vaccinated. If you run a largely remote software coding operation and somebody has a religious objection, it may not be an undue burden to allow them to not be vaccinated and continue to work remotely.
If states can reject religious exemptions in certain cases, and if the major religions are all pro-vaccine, is there a legitimate argument for religious exemptions? You better believe it. No pun intended. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission says that religious objections to vaccines don't have to stem from an organized religion. It doesn't matter if your personal beliefs are new, uncommon, or seem illogical or unreasonable to others. At My City Church, Pastor Nelson agrees.
Whether we believe in the God of the Bible, whether we believe in Buddha, or we don't believe in a higher being, that the beautiful thing about this country is that we all have a place in the public square.
What are your thoughts on the use of religious exemptions? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to rate this story using our bias meter.